In this video, we're looking at a starting point for making a game that uses a board and using a list of lists to keep track of the board. I'm going to run it and then we'll look at the code. Okay, so each of these little dashes is a place on my board. I have a board that is 6 rows tall and 7 rows wide, where initially I have these dashes, which I'm thinking of as empty spots, and then I changed one of the spots. Okay, now the code for this. I have 2 different functions. One is for making the board. So there's a function for making the board. There's a function for printing the board, and let's look at printing the board first. So board is a list of lists, and each of the lists in the board I'm thinking of as a row. So if I do a for loop with the board, each of the things in there I think of as a row. All right, that's printing the board. I'm making the board and I give the function a parameter of the number of rows I want, the number of columns, and what the empty character is, so a space or a dash or whatever. I make the board, I print the board, and then if I want to change this item here, that is the 5th row, so I'm thinking of getting into the spots in the board with, I give it the row that I want and then the column within that row. So the row that I want here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5th row with index 5. And then the spot here is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I can update and I can get particular positions with doing it like this. All right, so then how the board is actually created, it's this one-liner. So I have the empty character. I'm going to make that into a list. I multiply my list times the number of columns, so that would be like 1 row. So I have my empty character. If you multiply a list by the number, by some number, then it creates that many copies, that many items in the list. So I have this empty character, I multiply by columns, and so then I get a list with this many things, and I want that many rows. So one way to do that is, this is something that I want to create, and this tells it to do it that many times. All right, and what comes out is a list of lists. So this whole thing is a list. Each item there is the list that's the row. The way of doing it like this with the for loop inside of the square brackets is called a list comprehension. It's not so important to go through the details of that, but you can use this code as it is. You just need to be careful if you change it. This is one right way to do it, and there are some wrong ways to do this as well. Okay, so if you're going to do some game, whether it's like a first-person 2D kind of game where you move your character around the board, or maybe this 6x7 is a Connect 4 board, the basic strategy is you make your empty board, you print your empty board, and then you'd have some loop here where the users or the players make their move. Let them make their move, update the board, print the board, next person makes their move, update the board, print the board. So you'd have some while loop where inside the loop would be one turn or each player's turns. Okay.